Hey everyone, it's your boy Zero, and I'm here with
EE.
And Alex.
From Heart Machine Games. These are the developers of a very famous indie game you guys might have heard of, Hyperlight Drifter, and also Solar Ash. And I'm here to ask you guys a couple of questions. I hope you're down for that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so first of all, what do you guys do within Heart Machine?
I handle all of our community, PR, marketing, and a little bit of QA.
Yeah, sound designer, and now I'm audio lead on Hyperlight Breaker.
All right, awesome. So, Hyperlight Drifter, the white knight of freaking indie games. This game came onto the scene with its amazing pixel art, and also I love the color palette in that game. Tell me, how has the reception been with Hyperlight Drifter, like on all the platforms and stuff?
It's been great. I mean, it's been, as you said, like an indie darling since it came out 6 years ago. We still have people playing, we still have people speed running it, and yeah, a lot of games I think still look to it as a model artistically.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's got a game with a lot of, or it's a game that's got a lot of staying power, because it really hangs on like moments. Like there are moments that really you feel the impact of, you know, like the tension and release of specific things happening in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, the animations are smooth. The battle system works. I like the little heart stuff that comes up whenever you hit the enemies and whatnot. And it really did inspire a lot of other indie games because this game came out with its awesome pixel art, and then everybody else said, hey, we can do that too, right? Yeah, let's do that. So it's really nice to see. I also loved the fact that your studio continued on and decided to say, let's leave 2D behind. Let's try our 3D games now. Solar Ash, I just tried it today. Oh my God, it's so much fun. There's so much speed. The physics are amazing. I wish I can hear the sound. I know you're the sound engineer. I'll have to do that at home with the earphones on to really do it justice. But tell us about the game and how has the reception been with that game?
So we sort of changed things up a little bit from the development of Drifter, which was very community-based development, to Solar Ash, which kind of was developed in a vacuum. And because of that, I think we had less engagement overall with Solar Ash, even though it still did quite well. And we have a lot of like very dedicated speedrunners and fans, and people still love that aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it was a challenging game to work on. And this is something that, as you say about like the studio and growth, and like we really like to push ourselves and find these new like areas and new things to do and things to try. And always in our games, we're trying to do things that you know, are not that common, and then try to make it look simple and easy. You know.
I remember we were speaking a little bit earlier about the challenges that you guys had while developing the game. Is there anything you guys want to like add to that? Like, what sort of challenges specifically did you have while developing?
There's got to be more.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's a game that has giant bosses and large open spaces. So many of the challenges that we would run into. Yeah, I mean, like there's like kind of goofy things too with like the gravity. How we had like a bug at one point where you'd be fighting a boss and hit something at a wrong angle and just go shooting off into space. So, but we need the gravity there, but the gravity is this entirely variable thing that is like not like programmatically, like it's not like a sequential thing that has to do with like game logic and state and stuff. It's more about like functionally built around these spaces. And so you can really kind of like, we would be in development, find like really odd spaces that would like accidentally get sucked into the wrong gravity box and go flying across the map. So, you know, trying to do these things and then like distill it down to something that's simple, that's then playable, that's like functionally like a fairly simple feeling game. There's a lot going on under the hood. And I know, like I've heard Wolf talk about trying to do level design where you can't flip the editor upside down, but you're trying to work on like a platform that's here And so you're trying to like make a building. And so what she would do is actually take her monitor and flip it over. She would rotate her monitor, but then like the mouse and keyboard are all messed up. And so like simple output, but it took a lot of effort to get there.
You're the sound engineer, correct? All right, so tell us about some of the challenges you had while designing the sound for the game. I'm pretty sure our viewers would like to hear about that too.
Sure. Yeah. So if Troop were here, Troop was the audio lead on Solar Ash, and he was a composer. I know that there was a lot of work that he put into getting the music to react correctly, because as an open world, you can be going from one space into another. You can be in the middle of a boss fight and like leave to go do something else. So you don't just have like a cut and dry sequence of like, we're just gonna like play this music. It has to all be built out of pieces that can crossfade or be blended like vertically and horizontally, to also like match like with music and with sound, what you're trying to do is understand how the player feels and support that. So you're trying to not just like influence, not make them feel something, but understand how they already feel and like basically extract an element of that you want to emphasize. And that means like really being clued into what the design of the game is. So like big open world with bosses and all this stuff, like it could get real complex. From a sound engineering side, from the sound effects side and sound design, you have a giant boss that's like a mile long, and maybe like the sound is supposed to come from a single point in space. Like the game engine, like the audio engine is asking, where does this sound come from? It comes from this one point in space. And so if that's a basketball hitting the ground or something, totally makes sense. But then if it's a giant boss, you have to come up with really weird solutions. And so we had a tool that would scan the exterior mesh of the boss and scatter vertex points across it, make an array, and then you can feed that array into a function that like just gets like the closest location. So like if I'm here and I'm listening, then what's the closest location on the boss, and that's where the sound comes from. Yeah.
That must have been a headache to figure out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and for a very long time, it was much more like, well, the sound just comes from the middle of the boss, or it comes from their head. If they're screaming, that's great, but if it's like a giant firebird that's like flapping its wings, like, didn't sound right. So.
It's going to get a little bit more complicated than that. You got to get the wing flaps. If it lands on the ground, you got to get the feet. If it chirps or I guess screams or screeches, you got to get that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention like all the trouble of designing a soundscape that is built around like all the puzzles and the things that you're doing early on, and then leave room sonically for a giant boss that's going to come in like thunderous and screaming and like throwing fireballs or whatever, So, yeah, it's a lot.
Absolutely.
Like with all of those considerations, like 90% of players don't really realize the work that goes into it, and they're just like, this sounds great. And they don't know the headache and the heartache and all of the considerations that got wrapped up in it. They just know if the bird doesn't sound right versus when it does.
Yeah, or like having, there's, so this is fun. We get to talk about my job. Like this, I'm the discipline here. So we're going to talk about sound. Like imagine you have to do a weapon charge up. Like it's a 3D game. You got your weapon, you charge it up, and then you get hit in the middle of it, so it gets interrupted. Like, or you get to the end and it completes. Like, there are these different instructions that are coming from different places that are going to make you want to stop the sound. So you have to catch like all the different ways that something can stop and account for everything. And a big part of development in sound is people coming to me and saying, this sound is playing forever. Why is this playing forever? And having to figure it out. So, yeah.
I charged up my Canon like 30 minutes ago. Why do I still hear the charge up sound?
Yes. It's a bug that we have right now in our new game. So, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the, the inspirations for Solar Ash. Because I played it and it reminded me of a bunch of games. So why don't you guys tell the viewers and me, of course, what were the inspirations for Solar Ash?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, our company line has been, it is Shadow of the Colossus meets Jet Set Radio with a little bit of Mario Galaxy sprinkled in. And then Hyperlight Drifter aesthetic.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like what really means a lot to me with the game is maybe more of like the deeper themes of like trauma and relief and like getting through things and facing your fears, and there's a lot in there that becomes clear through the game, and it's really, we kept it in mind as we went through development and tried to like bring that home.
No, and I can see that. All these things you guys just mentioned right now, especially the first two games, Jet Set Radio and Shadow of the Colossus, you really do get that feeling. And especially as a guy who's played both games in the past and then also just tried out Hyperlight Drifter, I love the fact that you guys brought the color palette from the first game into this, into a 3D realm where you can skate, grind, and just swipe at enemies, and it all just works smoothly and well. Again, I wish I could have heard the sound work that you put in, because as a guy who's tried game development, I already know it's a pain in the neck, and it sucks when people don't appreciate it. And they're just like, oh yeah, that sounds right. Oh, it just sounds right? No, I put in a lot of work. Come on.
Yeah.
So I get it. So I'm definitely going to be playing this when I get home, because I had too much fun on that game. It was great. Now you guys are working on a new game, Hyperlight Breakers. Is there anything you guys can tell us about that game? Because I know it's still in development. I don't want to get you guys in trouble. Can you tell us anything about it?
The trailer is out. It is published by Gearbox. It is going to be multiplayer online roguelite. And what else can we talk about? There's going to be some light character creation.
Yeah, I think you know more than me in terms of like what we can, like I'm not much of an outward facing dev, so I definitely know everything about it. But it's a very colorful game, and like a nice like 3D multiplayer action roguelike is not something roguelite. We're going with roguelite. Yeah. That's not something that's all too common. So it's really satisfying to be like chunking through those design questions and try to make something like that like feel very good. Yeah.
It is not a direct sequel to Hyperlight Drifter, but it's set in the same universe, like 1,000 years later.
Okay, awesome. So it's still in development right now. When can we see this game? Or actually, I'm sorry, I can't ask about that. I mean, it said it in the trailer. I said I might as well ask you guys when it could maybe be expected.
Spring 2023.
Yeah, and we'll be doing early access sometime next year, so it will be available on Steam in early access.
All right. So you said Steam. Any other platforms that it's going to be available on?
We're planning for Steam first, early access. Again, like I said before, Drifter was very much like community-focused development. We dropped a lot of content, like engaged a lot with people who might want to play the game, and we're kind of returning to that model with Breaker. So we're starting with an early access.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah. So I think I'm out of questions, but thank you, the both of you, EE and Alex, for speaking to me. Let everybody know where they can find you online, if you want them to find you online, or where they can follow Heart Machine.
Yeah, Heart Machine HQ. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, kind of, and hyperlightbreaker.com is where you can wish list and get on our newsletter.
Yep, what she said.
All right, awesome. Definitely nailed it. All right, so thank you everyone for watching. Thank you again for interviewing with me. And stay tuned to our channel for more awesome content. We'll see you guys later.